call the Williamson County Commission November meeting to order. First item on the agenda is invocation and pledge. Commissioner Paul Webb with the invocation, Commissioner Lou Green with the pledge. Please stand.
Let us pray. Righteous and almighty God, we thank you for and ask that you guard the brave men and women risking themselves in battle for our country. We give thanks tonight for those veterans that have served our country so courageously in the past. Lord, we thank you each day for the blessings we have received to live in such a wonderful country and county. We ask for your blessings on this body as we may do our work in a spirit of wisdom, justice, and kindness. We pray in the name of him who will come to be our judge, your Son, Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next we have roll call. If you'll push your present button and confirm. Barb.
Yay, we're off and running.
There we go. Record the roll, Ms. Anderson.
24 present.
All right. Next, we have approval of minutes of our October 13th, 2014 County Commission meeting. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Chalifant, Commissioner Green, the second. Any changes? Commissioner Sturgeon?
No, I didn't.
Okay. All right. All right. All in favor of those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They're approved. Introduction and acceptance of Highway Commission minutes. Each copy was mailed to each commissioner. I'll entertain a motion for those.
So moved.
Commissioner Bain, Commissioner Hester, the second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next, we have citizens' communication. All right, we have two people tonight. If you'll come forward and state your name and your address, and if you'll limit your talk to 3 minutes. First one we have is Vicki Jackson.
I admire you guys because if you can make it through an election, you're awesome. That is the hardest thing I've ever been through. Two things. What?
State your
Oh,
address.
Victoria Jackson Wessel is my married name. And do I have to say my address
Yes, ma'am.
for the whole world? 3014 Iroquois.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't have any personal investment in the hospital issue, pro or con. But what I'm concerned about is that when the government gets involved with the private sector business, that's socialism. And it's very dangerous. It's a slippery slope, and I'm really concerned about it. So I would vote for selling the hospital and getting us out of debt. Isn't that one of the issues tonight? So, and my other thing is I'd like to bring it to everyone's attention what Agenda 21 is, because most people I know don't know anything about it, and it's not going to affect us today or tomorrow, but very soon. It's creeping into our country. It's a United Nations proclamation, kind of like Common Core. And basically, you can go to agenda21today.com, and it's involving private property being taken away from citizens in America. And I would like to tell you that on Main Street, 198 Main Street, near the Circle, they have an office called Franklin Tomorrow, and it's federally funded, and they're everywhere, and they're going to ruin our country. So go to agenda21today.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Daniela Kuntz. Forgive me if I mispronounced your name.
You did well. Hi, I'm Daniela Kuntz, and I live at 132 Cavalry Drive in Franklin, Tennessee. I am a very passionate advocate for the safety of children especially, and I've been working as a volunteer in the Williamson County School District and also with all the school leaders to improve certain things with the handling of chemicals, pesticides, and other maintenance works that would have affected the indoor air of the children especially. I also have written a bill, and also a resolution that has been passed the last legislative session and has been signed off also by Governor Haslam. And I'm trying now to also reach out to the community and to raise awareness on what we can do to protect even more our community and our children especially from certain dangers, unseen dangers that so many people are not aware of. And it's about public safety, not only in schools, it goes also back at home, for example, where parents sometimes don't even realize that they also do things that could be handled better to protect their children and public safety. And so I thought it would be great to have workshops, and I also touch base with Mayor Rogers Anderson, who is here too, and also with Mr. Jeff Ford. I had a meeting and with also several other community leaders and agencies like the EMS, the emergency management, and they thought it was a good idea to include such educative segments for the broad public also. So that's what I'm trying to bring this forth so that you're aware that this would be a great idea to actually include for public safety. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes citizens' communication. Next, we'll move to communications and messages. I'd like to thank Deputy Darden and Corporal Burks for being here with the Sheriff's Department tonight. Also, we have several late file resolutions. Resolution 111419 is listed under other business. 111421 is under appropriations. 111420 is under other, and 111422 is under other, and 111423 is under appropriations. If there's no objections, we'll hear those, and they are in your packet. So I see none, so we're good there. Copy of the meeting.
We can do that after
Okay.
the
All right.
proclamation.
All right. Next, we'll have the proclamations. We'll call up Commissioner Dana Osbrooks. Yeah, the proclamations, the 125th anniversary of Battleground Academy, and proclaiming November 23rd as Battleground Academy Month in Williamson County.
Thank you. And if I could bring up Will Kessler, head of school for Battleground Academy, he's present. Proclamation celebrating the 125th anniversary of Battleground Academy. Whereas established in 1889, Battleground Academy, BGA, was founded on the principles of character, scholarship, and excellence, and named due to its original location on the battleground of the Civil War, Battle of Franklin. And whereas in 1996, The location of the Battleground Academy Upper School changed to its present site on Ernest Rice Lane in Franklin and was joined in 2003 by the middle school, where they share brand new state-of-the-art facilities that afforded the excellence in educations and programs to continue. And whereas in 1998, Battleground Academy acquired the former Harpeth Academy, and it became the BGA Lower School on Franklin Road, resulting in the operation of 2 campuses and 3 divisions, lower school, middle school, and upper school. And whereas BGA is proud of its long-standing traditions, including the Greer and Plato Societies, tug competition, and honor code. And whereas at the beginning of each year, each student signs the honor code, revered as one of the bedrocks that makes the school great, and a code that many students follow through their entire lives. And whereas steeped in history throughout the county, we are proud to join the staff, faculty, and students of Battleground Academy in celebrating their 125th anniversary celebration. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Rogers Anderson, as Williamson County Mayor, do hereby proclaim November 2014 as Battleground Academy Month in Williamson County, encourage all citizens to join Mayor Anderson in acknowledging the many accomplishments, contributions, and traditions of excellence exhibited by Battleground Academy. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Is Eric Jacobson here? No. Okay. Next, we have a proclamation in remembrance of the sesquicentennial anniversary of the Battle of Franklin. Commissioner Greg Lawrence. And Commissioner Sherry Clark. You want to go up there too?
We have a proclamation tonight that we're honored to present on behalf of the Williamson County Commission to the Battle of Franklin Trust. It's a proclamation in remembrance of the sesquicentennial anniversary of the Battle of Franklin. Whereas on the 30th day of November, 1864, the Confederate Army of Tennessee, under the command of General John Bell Hood, engaged the Federal Army under the command of Major General John M. Schofield on the outskirts of Franklin, Tennessee. And whereas in just 5 early evening hours, one of the most horrific battles in all of the annals of warfare were fought in Franklin, Tennessee, claiming nearly 10,000 casualties. And whereas approximately 7,500 of the 10,000 casualties were from General Hood's Army of Tennessee, many of whom are interred within the borders of our county. And whereas the Battle of Franklin proved to be ultimately decisive, signaling one of the darkest chapters in our nation's history was coming to a close. Now, therefore, be it resolved that upon this sesquicentennial anniversary of the Battle of Franklin, the Williamson County Board of Commissioners, meeting in regular session this 10th day of November 2014, hereby proclaims November 30th, 2014 as a day of solemn remembrance to honor the valor, devotion to duty and cause, and the tremendous sacrifice of the soldiers that fought here, the last great battle of the Civil War.
Next, we have reports of county offices. First report, County Mayor Rogers Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the eve of the Veterans Day, before I forget it, and I'll ask Nina Graham to come up so we can give a snapshot of the financial picture. But on the eve of Veterans Day tomorrow, I would remind you to put on your calendar at 9 o'clock in the morning at the archives. The archives will open up and you can enjoy meeting and talking to many of the men and women that have served in the military. There'll be some light refreshments there. As all traditions are, on 11 o'clock tomorrow, the parade will start, and immediately following the parade, down on the town square at Franklin, they will be doing the dedication of the cannons down there. So tomorrow's a very festive day, and if you get the opportunity to come out, I would encourage you to do that. Nina?
Thank you, Mayor, Mr. Chairman. This evening in your packets, you'll have your budget report for the month of September. We're tracking nothing unusual to report for this month. Also in your packet is your privilege tax report for the month of September. We had total collections of a little over $979,000. We have the Cool Springs Marriott report for the month of September. This month, the county did owe back $45,234.55. Also in your packets this evening, I included the results of our hotel motel tax audit. There were 33 audits performed. For Williamson County, there was a little over $122,000 to be recouped in taxes, interest, and penalties. Total cost to the county was $25,500 with a net of $96,513. Does anyone have any questions?
Questions for Nina? I see none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you push the button?
Nobody's pushed their button.
There we go.
Now it's recorded. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Sturgeon?
I'm just still new at this, but do you answer the questions about the Williamson Medical Center statement? Or is that
No, ma'am.
someone else?
No.
No?
Anyone else?
Who do I? Who is that? Who would I ask those questions of?
Commissioner, in a few minutes, the Chief Executive Officer is going to come up if you can hold that question.
Okay. All right.
Commissioner Ford?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nina, on the conference center report,
Sir.
I think this is the second one that we've seen since the changeover in management there. Is that correct?
That's right.
I noticed that we no longer have the budgeted figures on this report. We've always had the actual last year for comparison and then the budgeted figures. Can we get those added back in?
Sure, I can request that.
That'd be great. And on this particular one, I noticed that we were 60,000 short in revenue compared to last year, but we were 150,000 short in profit. Is there something going on over there where there is an extraordinary expense?
As far as this month, I did inquire on what the losses were. There were approximately 25,000 in corrections for their closing from where we went through the changeover in July and August. 40,000 was for an audio-visual expense, and 19,000 was just from July and August invoices.
Okay, I mean, that's 150,000 is a lot to be short on that. So I know with the changeover in company, I think we ought to just watch it. So I appreciate your checking in on that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ricky Jones?
Yes. Last few months on the privilege tax report, I've noticed a bump in unincorporated Williamson County. Where's the building going on? Why the big bump there in the last few months?
Joe might be better.
Commissioner, let me see if I can get you an answer on that. Mark or Joe?
Good evening. Commissioner Jones, I really couldn't say off the top of my head. I think it may well be in the Grove. That seems to be a place that we have seen quite a bit of activity, but
Okay.
we can look a little into that and
Okay,
see what
thank
we
you.
can come back with. We normally track them in the aggregate, but we usually don't break them down until the end of the year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I will say, Ricky, that last month we had another record month in building permits, and I couldn't tell you specifically, but they seem to be coming in, on the report that I saw, they're coming in ones and twos all over the county. Mr. Chairman, if I could, two more things, and then I'll entertain any questions y'all may have. First of all, on your area, your working area, I draw your attention to the Animal Control and Adoption Center save rate for our dogs and cats, 95.5%. Phenomenal number that Laura is doing out there, and it's just been wonderful to see all of the effort that the volunteers and the adoption centers and what Laura's direction has done for us out in that area. She is not able to be with us tonight. She's in a conference out of town. My final remarks, Mr. Chairman, if I could, not often do we have the opportunity, I guess that's the wrong word. From time to time, there's an individual that comes along in your life that does an outstanding job, that decides to hang up his cleats, that decides to say that I want to spend more time with my family and my grandchildren. A man that has taken a lot of things in our community, and we now just have learned to accept them as a way of life, and that's in our parks and recreation area. When Doug Hood first came to our area back in 1991, September, many of us had dark hair, including Doug. But he was straight out of Florida. He was an energetic man that went through the rigors of being interviewed by then the county executive, Bob Ring. I was a younger man being on the budget committee, and he survived three of us, Bob Ring and Clint Caldecott and myself. As you look around Williamson County, he's developed a recreation program inside and outside cities. It's a model that every single city has been touched. We have parks and recreation facilities that are well known throughout not only our county, but in the state of Tennessee. He has led a group of men and women, and I think that's the key point, that all of us, when we decide to hang it up, that we can look back and say, you've done a good job. And these people are here tonight in support of that. So if you would allow me, Jack, at this time to invite his lovely wife, Johnny Kay, and Doug Hood, to show him our appreciation. And I'm sure, it goes without saying, Doug's never left given up a moment that he couldn't find something to say, but it's particularly interesting, and I think it's the right thing for us to do for our good employees. Doug Hood and his wife, Johnny Kay.
I did make some notes tonight. As you know, I'm usually not at a loss for words, and I'm going to try and be brief. I do want to thank some people very much, and first is with the commission, past and present. I've been so fortunate for you to listen to my ideas, not always agreeing, but always had the opportunity to explain to you the great things about Parks and Recreation and what makes a great community. And to you that sit here now, I appreciate so much what you've done in Parks and Recreation for this county. And for those before, all the commissioners I worked with, I did want to acknowledge that. I worked for three great guys. Bob Ring, who saw a vision when I took this job, that Parks and Recreation needed to become a part of a well-rounded community and a well-rounded county. And was so fortunate for Bob to have that vision. And as time went on and we built it, I'll never forget the first night we had a bond referendum passed. It was for $4 million in 1994, and you'd think we'd won $400 million. It was wonderful getting it spread throughout the community. And at that time, my friend and boss was the chairman of the budget committee, and he said, I'll support this on one condition, that everybody gets something, that every community is touched. And we did that with that first bond issue. And that, I'm very proud of that. And as Johnny K can tell you, I have a sign that's in my garage, because I have a lot of signs. And it's framed, and it says April 7th, 1994, vote yes. And that was also a big day because it was my birthday. So I remember that. And those three gentlemen always had an understanding of what a great Parks and Recreation Department could be. And all credit to Bob and Clint, but I've never worked for a finer man than Rogers Anderson, ever. And I'm so grateful to have done that. I want to thank all the department heads. When you work here, you got to understand there's a lot of stuff that goes on here every day. And I will tell you that every one of us gets along. Every one of us. You know, when you call and ask for help, you know, the last park we did, you know, calling Nancy Zion to help us, my dear friend, and when I need something, my brother, Eddie Hood, Eddie's here, you know, helping us. You know, Joe Horn helping me with things. I don't want to leave anybody out. I don't want to try and forget everybody, leave somebody out. Mike Weber, my dear friend, you know, working, you know, with Nina and the money and all of that, and all the department heads. I want you to understand how hard everybody works here to make this a great place to live. And I did want to mention one person individual. That's my friend Diane Giddens. I'm not going to look at her. Diane is a person that you can go to, and everything, you know, I've been known to be, I have a little emotion in me, as everybody knows, you know, and Diane always says, Doug, it's all good. It's all good. Everything's going to be fine. And she is a dear friend to Johnny K and I, her daughters, her husband Don. But I'm telling you, the backbone of this county and the things that make this county great, you've never found a harder working, more decent woman. And I'm so happy to call her my friend. I want to thank the citizens, because without the citizens' belief in this, a lot of this wouldn't have happened. I mean, we've got indoor soccer arenas and ball fields and walking trails, community centers and pools. We've got 6,000 children that play soccer, several hundred that play lacrosse, baseball, all the stuff's around. We have a girls' softball complex, you know, and it's an insatiable appetite. And I will tell this commission as a whole, you know, the majority of the citizens in Williamson County expect a quality Parks and Recreation Department, like they expect quality schools and they expect quality roads and public safety. This is a great place to live, and it's because of the citizens who have this insatiable appetite for these really good things. And I want to thank them, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, for allowing us to do this and the support that they've given. And this group of people right here, you all stand up. I want these guys, you all to stand up. This is the management team from Parks and Recreation, and these people have been my soul. I mean, they are unbelievable how they have performed their duty day in and day out. And I'm going to try and say this. Our slogan is touching lives one at a time. Well, you all have touched mine. Thank you. And last but not least, it is a true statement that every man has, you know, all these good women's behind every man. I've never walked in front of her or behind her. We've always walked together. She's my best friend, the light of my life, and we have 2 wonderful children and 3 granddaughters, which we're so blessed to have. But in all honesty, I'm so fortunate to have somebody like Johnny K, and I love and cherish you. Thank you all so much.
Mr. Chairman, about the only other comment I've got is Doug did not get the pickle park put in before he left, and I hope you will understand. If you've not seen pickleball, you might want to go to the website and pull it up. That's the next great craze. That's what everybody tells us, pickleball. Jack. because he's asked me for everything else. Jack, I'll answer any questions.
Anyone have questions for the mayor? I see none. Thank you. Next, we have Williamson County Schools and Jason Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Looney is actually in Washington, D.C. Tonight and tomorrow. We have 3 schools that are celebrating National Blue Ribbon status. I'm not sure, but I think that's unprecedented for us having 3 schools. That's Trinity Elementary, Kenrose Elementary, and Hillsborough School. Wanted to give you a couple of updates. Number one, we don't have anything on your agenda tonight, school related, which is extremely unusual for those of you who've seen that. But from a number perspective, we are still at about 9.4 million in fund balance, which is about 1.2 million above the 3% minimum that's required on July 1st, or actually when the budget is passed. So we don't make changes to those numbers unless you all have approved something. So that's not going to change unless you vote on something that we need down the road over the course of this year. Also wanted to let you know that our numbers continue to grow. We are at the most recent numbers we've had, which are coming up on a month old. We are 989 students above year-end 2013-14 school year. So that's as of the last day of school to now, we have 989 students more than we did. We're projecting this month we've probably grown in the 80 to 90 range, but we don't have the exact number at the moment. So I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. Final thing I'd like to say is I want a second or third or fourth or however many is next, Doug Hood, and thank him. We have an unbelievable relationship with Parks and Rec. It's a win-win relationship where we share with them and they share with us. Doug has been terrific to work with in the 9 or so years that I've been here doing operational work. I'm going to miss him. He has a great team. They've all been terrific to work with, and we have done some incredible things with efficiency in the county, with sharing facilities, and I think I know it saved a lot of taxpayer money, and we thank you all for the funding that you put to Parks and Rec because it helps our students. We also thank you for the work you do for us. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Golden? I see none.
All right, thank you.
All right. Next, we have a hospital report. Don Webb, CEO, Williamson Medical Center.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to take a few minutes tonight to go through a few highlights from Williamson Medical Center, some of the projects that we have underway, some that you're aware of and some that you may not be aware of. First and foremost is our expansion project. We are at about the 60% point in our project, with the east tower being our surgery tower. Completion set at the moment for January of 2016. We should make that date. Our west tower, which includes our children's ER and our children's inpatient unit, is set for completion about April 1st of 2015, and we should make that date and have had no delays so far from a construction perspective. No weather delays, no construction delays. Two things that you may not be aware of is we have recently completed an expansion of our cardiac rehab service. That's a service that we've offered for some time, but it has been difficult to get into that service, so we felt it was time to expand and allow more people and get them in quicker, more people to be serviced. We were able to see 144 patients per week. We now can see 240 patients per week in that cardiac rehab. In addition to that, we have a new service at Williamson, our pulmonary rehab service. We're able to see 16 patients per week in that pulmonary rehab service, and that has just opened up last week. As a matter of fact, was our first class, and then we do have the ability to expand that service. At our Tollgate Medical Plaza down in Thompson Station, Tennessee, at the beginning of this year in January, we did open our first primary care practice down there. We also opened some imaging service and some lab services in that building. The ground floor of that building. Also in the ground floor of that building, we have our outpatient physical therapy service is open as of January this year. On the second floor of that building, January of 2015, we will have an additional primary care practice, and we opened in September a OBGYN practice on the second floor of that building. And we continue to look for other tenants for that building and try to enhance medical services in that area. Our joint venture with Vanderbilt with our walk-in clinics, as you know, we have the 2 existing walk-ins that we purchased an interest in a year and a half ago from Vanderbilt, one on Highway 96 and one in Campbell Station. In addition, we have developed, since buying into that venture and starting that venture, 2 additional clinics, one in Brentwood that opened last month, one on McEwen at Mallory that opened in July of this year. Both of those locations are seeing greater than expected patient volume. We're doing about 49 per day at the McEwen location on average, and in the recently opened one in Brentwood, we're seeing about 20 patients per day. That's my short update. I would entertain any questions, and we will be here for questions later on, as we do have an item on the agenda.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Webb? Commissioner Lawrence?
Good evening, Don. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Thanks.
I appreciate you giving us these monthly financial reports. However, it's a little hard for me to tell exactly how the hospital is doing in 2014 or in 2014 comparison to 2013. So I'm wondering if we can start getting some more year-to-date financial statements that give us a picture of the whole year, so that we can kind of tell. It's kind of hard to tell from a couple of months exactly where we're at on the hospital revenues.
Yes, absolutely, I can give you that. Our fiscal year begins July 1st, so in this particular statement, you have 3 months, July, August, September, October. But we can add that, no problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there something else?
No, thank you. That's what I would like to see that, because it's just a little hard when you've got a couple of months to look at, because hospital revenues can fluctuate wildly, as you well know, from month to month. So 1 month could be really good, but year to date is what I would really like to see.
That's not a problem.
Okay.
And you want to see a comparison to the prior year, is that?
Yes.
Is that?
Commissioner Sturgeon?
Yeah, it's just a small question. On your sheet, it says there's $61,105,000 cash available. And I was wondering, is any of that committed to paying off the new construction project to the Children's Hospital? And
The way the funding for that project was put together last year, yes, it's a $52 million construction piece of that project. 30 would come from the bond issue that the county approved this time last year. The remaining 22 million would come out of that number and hospital operations.
okay, so it's really probably more like 39, 40 that's available after that.
Remember, this is not a static number. This number goes on. It changes month to month. So the way we were funding that, we were taking money out of that account each month as we went, trying to keep the balance as close to that number as possible. We want to maintain as large a cash balance as we can.
So you're saying this is cash in the bank?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Oh, Commissioner Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Webb, we appreciate you being here this evening.
Yeah.
Question for you. I think that's on the minds of quite a few people right now in terms of Obamacare and how it is changing the medical industry almost overnight. In terms of challenges that you foresee coming within the next 1 to 5 years, what's the biggest challenge that's facing the hospital at this time?
Related to Obamacare or just generally?
In general.
Generally, the big issues for Williamson are competition. There's a lot of competition in our area now that, if you've been out here for very long, you realize was not here 10, 15 years ago. Lots of competition. There's lots of competition for capital dollars. It's difficult sometimes to raise the capital that you need to do expansions that you need. Obamacare is an unknown. Unknowns are always potentially an issue for us. We're not seeing any huge issues right now with Obamacare. As a matter of fact, very little. Williamson is blessed to not have a lot of Medicaid TennCare patients at Williamson Medical Center, so that could change, that could grow. That's an unknown. We are looking at that. But it's really access to capital, competition. Those are the things that bother us.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Tom?
I can't see, I ain't got my glasses on.
I
can't see which button to push.
All right. Go ahead.
Mr. Webb, would you explain if the hospital is sold, what happens to the money?
I can't explain that. I think you need to ask the attorneys what happens with the money.
Well, I think that needs to be said by somebody. Who would you recommend we hear that from?
I would start with the county attorney.
I'm not sure if you want that now or you want that at the time of the resolution. The, according to the Public Benefit Hospital Sales and Conveyance Act, the proceeds would be used in trust for the primary purpose of what the hospital was created for. That is the purpose. The funds are not allowed, except for those monies that are owed to the county, to go back into the general fund of the county.
Follow up, Tom?
No.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right. Any further questions? I see none. Thank you, Don. Any other county offices would like to speak at this time? I see none. Commissioner Hester would like to say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to whomever provided these wonderful flags for us all tonight. On behalf of Veterans Day tomorrow, my husband is a veteran, and I know that we have several individuals who are county commissioners this evening who are veterans. I would like to say thank you to everyone who was able to come to the open house that the Tennessee Vocational Rehab Services had on October 17th. An issue was extended to the general public and all of our county commissioners. And we had an excellent time seeing the facility, which is really directly behind us and adjacent to the health department. I'm rather giving them a little bit of a shout out because this is not technically one of our nonprofits. It's not technically by definition a nonprofit. It is on our nonprofit list. And this is an organization, state, federal, and local, that takes individuals who have challenges in the workplace, disabilities, and provides them with training and jobs. I wanted to mention these because these are individuals that that pay taxes. And so they are a positive to our community. And October was Disability Month. I would like to give anyone the opportunity to ask me questions about Tennessee Vocational Rehab. It's one of our premier organizations that we have in Williamson County. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Next, moving on, we have elections and appointments. The Beer Board, we have three-year term expiring Dewey Garland, nomination Dewey Garland. Can I do these together?
Yeah, you can do those two together.
And then we've got the Northwest Section, three-year term expiring Preston Koff, and nomination Preston Koff. So I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Little, the second. Any other nominations? See none. All in favor of these gentlemen signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And they're confirmed. Next, we have the consent agenda, which just covers the notaries. And Ashley, is that loaded on the machine? All right. If you're in favor of the consent agenda, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Henderson. Well, Barb?
Thank you. 24 yes, 0 no.
All right, consent agenda passes. Next, moving on, we have a public hearing, a resolution to amend the zoning ordinance text originally adopted May 14, 2012, as it relates to special events. If anyone in the audience would like to speak to this, you're welcome to come up. Please state your name and address, and so the public hearing is now open. Anyone requesting to speak, please come forward. Last call. We'll close the public hearing. Moving on to Resolution 11-14-4, a resolution to amend the zoning ordinance text originally adopted May 14, 2012, as it relates to special events. I'll entertain a motion. Commissioner Little and Commissioner Green. Regional Planning Commission was 9-4-0 against. Katie Rucker's here, and I'll call on Katie to explain this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Katie.
Good evening, Commissioners. Included in your packets tonight is a copy of the proposed amendment regarding the special events. At this time, I'll just summarize some points for you about what's included. First of all, limited special events have been clarified as to the number of attendees permitted. Extensive special events will be limited to a total number of 15 cumulative days per calendar year on a single parcel or site. However, in recognition of Leapers Fork Village Special Area Plan, the parcels within the village may have up to 30 events per calendar year on a single parcel or site. Events in which multiple retailers gather on an event site will be classified as artisan sales. This is a new use type, and be required to have a public hearing before the BZA, that Board of Zoning Appeals, prior to approval of the event. And a definition of yard sales was included to further distinguish between personal yard sales and artisan sales that I previously mentioned. And finally, exemptions to these standards have been further clarified to ensure that events such as private parties, activities at facilities typically intended for these uses are not subject to the requirements. As stated at the October meeting, the Williamson County Regional Planning Commission did vote unanimously to recommend this amendment for adoption this evening, and staff also recommends approval. If you have any questions, I am happy to answer them.
Any questions for Ms. Rucker? I see none. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
You ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 11-14-4, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes and 1 no.
Resolution passes. Moving on to appropriations. Resolution 11-14-5, resolution appropriating and amending the 2014-15 Parks and Rec budget by $12,000 for participation in the TVA Energy Right Program, revenues to come from unappropriated county general funds. Commissioner Herbert? Commissioner Green, the second. Parks and Rec Committee?
Parks and Rec voted 6-4, 0 against.
Okay. Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Herbert.
This is a program that they're working with the TVA to change the lighting in the College Grove facility, and they will receive money from TVA, and it'll save actually $6,000 a year in energy cost savings.
Okay. Any questions? I see none. You're ready to vote. If you're in favor of Resolution 11-14-5, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
Okay, 24 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution approving a new deputy clerk position for the juvenile court clerk's office and appropriating and amending the 2014-15 juvenile court clerk's budget by an amount not to exceed $18,720, revenues to come from undesignated county general fund balance. Commissioner Allsbrooks?
Move for approval.
All right.
Second.
Commissioner Smith, the second. HR Committee?
Approval.
5-4.
5-4-0
Zero
against.
against. Law Enforcement Committee?
6-4-0 against.
Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Allsbrooks, you will speak to this?
Yes, this is a request by Juvenile Court Clerk's Office, Brenda Hyden, for a new full-time position. She has not requested a new full-time position in over 10 years. This would be through the rest of this year. She would obviously have to come back next year to request that same.
All right. Any questions? Commissioner Jones? Dwight Jones?
You can shake your head, but I'm assuming this is in the budget. You've got it, because I'm assuming we're not paying somebody $18,000 to finish the rest of the year. So you've got the money somewhere.
Brenda, you want to come forward?
This number is not to exceed that for the remaining year,
Okay.
this budget year.
So when you hire them, it'll basically finish out the year.
Yes, yes.
Gotcha.
All right. Any further questions? I see none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 11-14-6, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution accepting a donation of $5,000 from Julia Robeson to be used to purchase a storage container for the Sheriff's Office gun range and appropriating and amending the 2014-15 Williamson County Sheriff's Office budget by $5,000, revenues to come from donations. Commissioner Herbert?
Move for approval.
Who was my second? Oh, okay, Mr. Milliken. Law Enforcement Committee?
6-4-0 against.
Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Herbert.
This is a very generous donation from Miss Julia Roberson, $5,000. I think she's been very generous and donated to the Sheriff's Department before, but this will be used for the gun range for a storage supply.
All right, any questions? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolutions 11-14-7, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 11-14-8, resolution appropriating and amending the 2014-15 library budget by $9,312, revenues to come from library fines. Commissioner Green?
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Little, the second. Library Board?
Library Board 7-4-0 against.
Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Green?
These are fines for copy fees and lost books, which we've received money for, and we do it to order supplies and materials to replace those.
Okay. Any discussion? Commissioner Danner?
Can someone explain again why we can't combine this resolution and the next one? Why we can't just accept revenues to come from both fines and donations?
Can I explain that?
Sure.
Basically, the next one has to do with donations from the city.
Oh, not from
No,
people.
not from fines.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Any further questions? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 11-14-8, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Greg, yours didn't take. Here we go. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 11-14-9, resolution appropriating and amending the 2014-15 library budget by $14,805, revenues to come from miscellaneous donations. Commissioner Green?
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Little, the second. Library Board?
Library Board, 7-4, 0 against.
Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Green.
These are revenues received from the City of Franklin to moved into our expenditures, and we use that to buy library books. I think this is a quarterly donation.
Okay. Any questions? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 11-14-9, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 11-14-10, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into a grant agreement with the State of Tennessee Department of Transportation concerning the realignment of the intersection of Hillsborough Road, State Route 106, and Old Hillsborough Road, State Route 46, and amending the 2014-15 capital budget by $1,235,000, revenues to come from federal through state grant funds, traffic shed funds, and unappropriated highway fund balance. Who wants to speak to this?
I can do that.
Commissioner Kestner, Commissioner Walton, Commissioner Clark, Commissioner Sturgeon. Todd, do you want to speak?
Sure. This is, as it says in the title, this is 80% a federal grant. This allows the Highway Department to straighten out the intersection of Old Hillsborough and Hillsborough, actually adding turn lanes going in both directions, and that might really alleviate a real problem going through Grassland.
Yeah, you're right. I need a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Second, okay. And then Highway Commission, I assume, was 5-4-0 against? Okay. Yeah, Budget Committee,
5-4-0 against.
and then now we've got the explanation. So this is still contingent on the state coming through with their part.
Yes.
So we'll be very hopeful that that happens. Any questions? I see none. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 11-14-10, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Late file Resolution 11-14-21, resolution appropriating and amending the 2014-15 Parks and Recreation budget by $17,951.25, revenues to come from donations. Commissioner Chalfant?
Move for approval.
Commissioner Green, the second. Parks and Rec Committee?
Parks and Rec, 6-4, 0 against.
All right. Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Chalfant.
This is revenue coming in from donations.
Okay. Any questions? See none, you're ready to vote. If you're in favor of Resolution 11-14-21, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Late file Resolution 11-14-23, resolution appropriating and amending the 2014-15 Parks and Recreation budget by $40,000, revenues to come from the Tennessee Soccer Club and Williamson County Soccer Association donations. Commissioner Chalfant?
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Green, the second. Parks and Rec Committee?
Parks and Rec, 6-4-0 against.
Budget Committee,
5-4-0 against.
explanation, Commissioner Chalafant.
Again, this is revenue coming in from donations.
All right. Commissioner Danner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to thank Doug. I just want to say, Doug, I've mentioned this before at committee meetings, and you and I don't always agree on everything, but you are fantastic and have always been wonderful at seeking and bringing in outside money. The contributions that you go out and get from the community, so that we don't have to use as many tax dollars is phenomenal. Thank you.
Further discussion? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 11-14-23, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 11-14-1, resolution amending the rules, regulations, and procedures of the Williamson County Board of Commissioners, establishing a regular annual Board of Commissioners assembly within the limits and in full compliance with the Open Meetings Act. Commissioner Ford?
Move for approval.
Second. Brandon Rhymes, the second. Rules Committee?
Four, 0 against.
Okay. Budget Committee?
1 for, 3 against, and 1 pass.
All right. Who wants to explain this, I guess?
I'll be happy to. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is very simply a resolution asking for us to have a once-a-year retreat located here in the county. I heard some questions about money on this. I went back and checked, and there is actually money in the county commission budget that could be used for this. There's money that we turn back in every year for our travel budget that could absolutely be appropriated for this. It's just simply a chance for us to get together, talk of issues that are not necessarily on our agenda outside of the view of TV cameras, to build relationship and discuss those issues that are important to the commission. It's very simply all it is.
Commissioner Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had a question for the chairman of the Budget Committee, for Commissioner Herbert. When I heard about this from Commissioner Ford, thought it was an excellent idea for us as a body, legislative body, to come together and possibly work towards cumulative goals. I noticed on the Budget Committee the vote was 1-3-1. What was the thought process for the 3 dissenting votes for this measure?
Well, part of it was they didn't want to spend the money, and even though that travel money's turned in, that's still travel money that could be put back into the fund balance that I guess the Budget Committee did not feel like it was necessary. I don't think they felt like the yearly meeting was necessary. I personally don't feel like it's necessary. I feel we meet at all these meetings and the issues are brought out then. You just need to attend all the meetings.
Yes, ma'am. Follow up, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yeah, bring your questions to
I'm
the
sorry.
chair.
We good? Okay. Out of curiosity, the cost, what is it estimated at? Commissioner Ford or Herbert?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be glad to address that to the chair. I don't believe there's really going to be any cost. We can hold this thing at the Ag Center. It's not going to cost anything for the commissioners. We get paid a flat salary. We're not going to charge anything extra to go to that. So I really see the cost to be minimal, if at any. If there are questions or want to be attended by any staff members that are not that are on overtime, perhaps that would be a cost, but outside of that, I really don't see any cost associated with it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bain?
Yes. Brentwood, Franklin, Fairview all have planning commissions. Anything we decide here will not have any effect in the cities. I think that's important to note, and I think it's just another committee that wastes time.
Commissioner Sturgeon?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, as being a new commissioner, I think it's only prudent that we're able to get together and look at the county as a whole instead of piecemeal one a resolution at a time from this department or from this commissioner. Somewhere, we should be looking at the big picture, and this is just an opportunity to do that. And if we don't do this, what do we do, or what will we do to make sure that we're looking at the county as a whole? Resource allocation, highways, and working with the different municipalities, give them a chance to participate. So I think it's an excellent idea. Doesn't sound like it's going to cost very much money, and I'm willing to donate half a Saturday. What the heck? So.
Commissioner Danner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to address the cost, but Commissioner Ford already said it. In committee, it was mentioned that we could use a facility that we already have, like a Parks and Rec Center or a library that are already open on Saturday, so the cost, in my mind, would be zero. The benefits, to me, far outweigh any negatives. The school board has one like this every year, and they don't think it's a waste of time. So it's not like we're creating the wheel. It's something that's already done. It is fruitful and beneficial to them, and I think it would be to us as well.
Commissioner Osbrooks?
Yes, Chairman Walton, I had a question for Commissioner Ford. I wanted to make sure I understood correctly.
Okay.
When he introduced the resolution, did you state it would be outside of the presence of the press?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
It's going to, within the resolution, it explicitly states that it would be an open meeting. It would be advertised, the press and the public would be invited. That's why, what I said was it would be inside the county so that it would be able to do those and the public could attend there very readily. I said it would be outside of the view of the television camera is where I said outside of.
Okay.
Commissioner Payer?
Mr. Chairman, I have talked with Commissioner Ford about this a few months ago, and I think the general concept is a good idea. I just think it would be, to me, it would be more effective if you were to pick 3 or 4 specific items and address them quarterly to where it's not such a big production, and that way you could streamline your focus on a specific item. Otherwise, I think it's going to be, if you do it annually, it'd be a bunch of different ideas tossed out there, and you probably wouldn't make a whole lot of progress because I just don't think it would be as organized.
Thank you. Commissioner Ricky Jones?
Yes, the 4th or 5th whereas it mentions that we should have this meeting to provide for citizens of Williamson County. Are we limited this only to the citizens of Williamson County? Since that's to the maker.
Mr. Chairman, I'd be glad to address that. Within the Open Meeting Act, I think we are responsible to both the citizens of Williamson County as well as to the state as a whole. So it would not be limited to the citizens of Williamson County to come. It would be an open meeting just like this one is, where anybody who wanted to. I think it would be most attractive and most interesting to all the citizens across the county, and that's why I would suggest we hold it in a central place so people can come from across. Does that answer the question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Follow up, Ricky?
No.
Okay. Commissioner Milliken?
Thank you. A few things. I did like what Commissioner Parra had to say about finding a way to direct, and I assumed that would be something we would do. Maybe a visioning committee would be a good idea to do something like that. Also, to keep the cost down, I promised to this commission that I will bring some of my excellent homemade banana nut muffins to keep the cost down. But finally, and seriously, the citizens of Williamson County benefit greatly when their commissioners are fully informed. We have so many new faces on this commission, and so many who, through the course of their jobs and all the wonderful things they do for this county outside, we cannot possibly know everything all the time. And there's no burden to the citizens of Williamson County by having better informed commissioners. And that's why this is a good idea. Thank you.
Commissioner Kestner?
I would echo those comments. I will clarify, I was the sole affirmative vote in the Budget Committee. And whether this is exactly the right format or not, I don't know, but I do know that I don't know what most of you think about many things, and I can promise you, you don't know what I think about many things. And I think that kind of give and take and sort of discussion would make us all a lot more productive. And you know, finding all communication limited to the stipulated titles of resolutions, I find very limiting. So I'm in favor of some sort of, be it this format or some other format, but something that enables communication and the open exchange of ideas and the furtherance of the county's goals and objectives.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, if I might just close very quickly, if there's no other discussion. I appreciate.
I got one.
Okay,
Wait just a
great,
minute.
great.
Commissioner Williams?
Yeah, I just also want to echo what Todd and Matt said too. I've had some discussions as well. Myself being a new commissioner, I know we do have a lot of new faces on the commission. But at the same time, I know we have a lot of commissioners that have a lot of history on the commission as well. So it may not be as important to you guys, but I know it's definitely important for the new faces here to have an opportunity to get to know each other, build some relationship, have some of the county government heads come out so we can have some face-to-face time with them too and get to know more about them. So I'd be in favor of this.
All right. Commissioner Ford?
Thank you,
Follow
Mr.
up.
Chairman. On Commissioner Pear's point, I think quarterly would be a great idea. As a matter of fact, this resolution allows for that. It says that we meet at least annually, so that would certainly allow for a quarterly meeting, and I would be all in favor of a quarterly meeting. It also allows, asks for agenda items up front so that the public can know what we'd be talking about specifically, and we would know, and staff members would know up front. That would then make sure that we know what is on that agenda. So I appreciate Commissioner Pear's items, and we've addressed those in here, so thank you very much.
All right. Any further discussion? I see none. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 11-14-1, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Oh, yeah. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
Okay. 15 yes, 9 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 11-14-2, resolution endorsing the establishment of a Williamson County Visioning Committee for the purpose of studying all aspects of Williamson County. Commissioner Ford?
Move for approval.
Commissioner Ryan, the second. Steering Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Ford?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe that, and steering was 5-4, 0 against as amended. I believe Commissioner Jones had amendment, and I believe that amendment is loaded on the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be glad to. I thought we were going to, let's bring it up. Yeah.
It's on your.
Okay. It's also on your desk. The amendment basically, Commissioner Jones rightfully asked questions about what role would the Williamson County Commission have within this visioning committee, and asked that the members, recognizing that the members of this steering committee are going to be very important, asked that the steering committee of the Williamson County Commission have approval over the makeup of this visioning committee. Is that correct, Commissioner Jones? So I'd like basically.
Move for approval
I did.
for that amendment. I would like to amend this resolution that the steering committee will oversee the process of determining and approving the composition of the visionary committee.
And I'd like to second that amendment.
Okay. Proper motion, proper amendment. Any discussion on the amendment? I see none. You got it loaded, Ashley. Commissioner Lawrence? On the amendment?
On the amendment, no, sorry.
Okay, all right. We're ready to vote on the amendment. I don't see any discussion. If you're in favor of the amendment, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
22 yes, 2 no.
The amendment passes. Now back to the main resolution as amended. Commissioner Lawrence, did you have a?
Yes, I have seen similar visionary studies that have been done from other counties and some of them are excellent studies and visionary plans, and this is a great idea. This county is probably going to double within the next 20 years, maybe less than that. That's a lot of new people coming into this county, and right now I don't see that we have a long-term plan for what we want this county to look like when that happens. And some of the things that I have seen from some of the other counties, they have done a great job of bringing in community leaders from various business organizations and churches and other things, and putting together a coalition that develops a very comprehensive vision plans from the financial aspects all the way to schools and roads and parks and recreation, just a very comprehensive plan that puts everything that we do here together in a long-range vision plan. I think that's a great idea for this commission to support.
All right, Commissioner Green?
Yeah, a question for the maker, Mr. Chairman. We recently have gone through with Leapers Fork, College Grove, shortly Triune,
Grassland.
and Grassland, to go through and meet with the people in that community as to what they would like their community to look like. If we go ahead with this vision committee, how do we incorporate their vision as they set it now? What's done in Leapers Fork does not match College Grove. What's done in Leapers Fork will not match Triune. What's done in Leapers Fork will not match Grassland or any of the others. Each one's got its own unique little plan. And 3 of those, I think, are in place so far. I think Grassland,
We're working on Grassland.
Grassland, and Triune's next. So how do we, this vision committee, incorporate what they're doing on an individual basis?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be glad to answer.
All right.
Actually, I appreciate you bringing that up, Commissioner Green, because that was part of the genesis of this idea, was those vision committees that were driven out of those individual communities did an excellent job of determining what they wanted. And when I took a look and expanded that idea across the county, I couldn't find the same document. I couldn't find the same vision that we as a community, what do we want to be as a whole? Those communities know what they want to be, so they will have representatives. I passed out a frequently asked question sheet that's on everybody's desk and put sample types of people that could be on this committee. This steering committee, and we would welcome and want the people from those to make sure that their vision, the vision that they have, is incorporated in and an important part of the full community vision. So they would certainly be an important part. They've done some of the work themselves and can actually serve as models and leaders for the rest of the community.
Mr. Chalifant?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Still have to, as far as this is concerned, this is like, we talk about this over and over and over and over again. I think we're just wasting our time.
Commissioner Kastner?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've attended, as you know, some of the Grassland meetings, and while I think Commissioner Green is exactly right, there's a definition as to what those communities want to see. There doesn't ever seem to be any discussion about how do those things get financed and ultimately paid for, and so there's an element that's missing that I thought this might perhaps address. In other words, to bring some of the financial context around some of the vision that we frequently hear about. You're correct, Commissioner Chalfant. There's an awful lot of discussion always about what should the pattern of development be, yet there's rarely any real financial teeth in those plans. And so I thought that when I was talking to Commissioner Ford that was one element of this particular effort.
Commissioner Surgeon?
Yeah, my question is this type of visioning committee, would it be concerned with, the most recent thing that pops into my mind is there's a Stevens Farm just over the line in Davidson County at the end of Sneed Road, and it could put in maybe 3,000 new homes. That's outside of our county, but it's definitely going to affect our county. Would this be the typical thing that we would talk about in a visioning committee? that, you know, it's not about Grassland, it's not about Triune, but it's definitely going to affect us. So, or is this outside of what a visioning committee would talk about?
Mr. Chairman, I'll be glad
to address
that. I believe that that specific item would be outside of the purview of this particular committee. However, I would see this committee as they work and develop relationships themselves, recognize that we don't work in a vacuum here. We have Murray County to the south, we have Davis County to the north that are very important parts. Transportation is one of those issues that's very important that we have to talk about on a regional basis. So out of this group, this vision that can be developed could be coordinated and work with the vision. Nashville is going through this exact thing right now. They're going through a Nashville Next process as we speak. Those meetings are ongoing. As a matter of fact, I got invited and attended one of those last week. And so it would be very interesting, Commissioner Sturgeon, to work on a regional basis as we move forward in this process. But that particular issue, while it will address us, is outside of the group here.
Commissioner Danner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the things I hope to get out of this, and I mentioned this in committee and thought it was worth mentioning to you all from the floor, is one of the things I hope to get from it that I saw in the example that that Commissioner Lawrence provided, is that it might give us a tool to prioritize. This county is growing rapidly, and we have so many needs, and all the departments come to us with, we need this, we need that, large capital items, and it might provide some enough overall feedback from all different experts in the county and from all the different residents to help give us a better picture and help us prioritize those large capital requests.
Commissioner Payer?
Mr. Chairman, the list that we've got, this is just an example of the people who could be on the committee? Or is this? Okay. The other question I had, the process that they mentioned about the 4 communities, that dealt with how it would physically develop, like the space around you, correct? And that's not what this is necessarily about. Okay.
Commissioner Webb?
You know, hearing the conversation tonight, plus what was at the Budget Committee the other night, it seems like there's another way that hasn't been discussed. As you know, my experience is more with the city of Brentwood, and we have the 2020 plan, which is currently being updated. And the way that works is we bring in outside consultants, and they direct the entire city into a survey with public meetings and feedback and discussions, and we bring in all levels of government, which would address what was issued in our border counties, because that has an effect upon us. And so we're still a growing county because we have everything to offer for anyone that wants to move here from parts of Tennessee or around the country. And so in having this discussion, Mr. Chair, I'm going to suggest that we also, whether it's we have this meeting and go that route or maybe as an alternative, that we consider looking at a Williamson County, for lack of a better name, the 2030 visioning process. And that way we involve every citizen in the county would have an opportunity, and we bring in people from north, south, east, and west, and we bring in different government agencies as well as our neighbors. And so here in that conversation, we had some conversation about money, we had some conversation about the impact from other counties. So my experience from Brentwood that I'll share with you is the 2020 plan has worked. We found out what the citizens wanted, what they were concerned about. We have a high level of return, which is unusual from around the country, but this area, people do return surveys, they do show up at meetings. So I'll just offer that from my experience to Commissioner Ford and this body as we go through this. Mr. Chair, I'm in favor. This is a start, but I would say I really think an outside consultant to do, like I said, perhaps a Williamson County 2030 survey is something we ought to look at. Thanks.
Commissioner Herbert?
This is a committee I don't feel like is necessary. The planning department put into a lot of time and money back 2 years ago in developing the new zoning for the county. They had a lot of community meetings. I don't know how many people came to them, but like they said, like Commissioner Green said, every community is different. I can tell you right now, the people in my area's vision for this county is a lot different from some of the people on this commission. And I just feel like it's not necessary. The people have already made their decision on what the county wanted to be according to the area. And a handful of commissioners don't need to be making that decision. It's the citizens that need to be making that decision. They've already made it. And this almost looks like it's wanting to be a metropolitan form of government by this resolution.
Commissioner Hester?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm very concerned about the cost of this resolution, this committee, this visioning committee. We have a very excellent planning commission. We have a very excellent planning department. We heard from Katie Rucker earlier today, earlier this evening rather. I was a part, and every county commissioner was invited to be a part of a comprehensive land program that we had several years ago. It was approved by this Board of Commissioners. There were many, many, many hours from citizens from this county who came to meetings at Page Middle School, Grassland Middle School, and Hillsborough School. They input with stars on a map about where they would like their construction to be, where they would like development to be, according with the road systems. This would almost be insulting to those people who came and spent their time in those programs. They were all over the county, and we had our planning commission members were there, our staff members were there. This is online. I recommend that you look it up. It's 108 pages. It's the Williamson County Comprehensive Plan. It is on the Williamson County website. And even though it's 108 pages, I suggest you at least scan it, and I would suggest anyone who has moved here in the last 10 years to read the entire document. There is a wealth of information. Also, we hired a consultant for this study, McBride and Dale out of Cincinnati, Ohio. We spent thousands of dollars for world-class advice. I certainly don't want to throw that away. And I certainly am very concerned about the cost of this visioning committee, because we could spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. I'm very concerned about our debt load that we have in this county. I'm very concerned about the money that we will be spending as we build new schools. I don't think that we need to reinvent the wheel, because we already have it. Thank you.
Commissioner Little?
I'll pass.
Pass.
I told you.
Commissioner Bain?
He's already made the statement I was going to make.
Yes, call the question, please.
Question's been called. Second?
Second.
Who was my second? Joan? All right, question's been called. So all in favor of calling the question signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No. Mr. Chairman, can you read the names of the people who might have still wanted to speak that didn't get to?
Brian Bethard.
Okay, thank you.
Matt Milliken.
Mr. Chairman, if it matters, I was going to call the question.
Okay, thank you. Duly noted, thank you. All right, question's been called. So you ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 11-14-2, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
Okay. 12 yes, 12 no.
Resolution fails. Resolution 11-14-3, resolution to appeal the 2006 International Building Code, the 2006 International Residential Code, the 2006 International Mechanical Code, the 2006 International Plumbing Code, the 2006 International Energy Conservation Code, and adopt the 2009 International Building Code, the 2009 International Residential Code, the 2009 Industrial Plumbing Code, 2009 Industrial Mechanical Code, and the 2009 Energy Conservation Code. I'll entertain a motion.
Move for approval. Second.
Commissioner Little, who was my second? Commissioner Webb, thank you. Planning Commission, 9-4-0 against. Budget Committee,
5-4-0 against.
all right. Joe, you want to come up and? Oh, Mark, okay. I'll let you talk about this.
All right, sir. The county, we are currently under the 2006 International Family of Codes. The building code it's on a 3-year cycle. So the 2006, and then we go to the 2009, then the 2012, and the 2015s just are now coming out. The reason to go to the 2009 right now for this county is we feel that at this point it's the best code to go through because of the international part of it. I know years ago we were under the Southern Standard Code, but now it's all become international. And through that process, there are a lot of things in the 2012 code, as well as probably will be in the 15, that is going to require some study and probably opting out of some things that are in those codes. So that's why I'm asking for the adoption of the 2009 code. State law requires that we be within no more than 2 current published editions of the building code. So when the 2015s that are coming out now, if we don't move to the 9, then we will be in violation of state law.
All right, if you'll stand by a minute. Commissioner Pear?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Did we include any local amendments with the 09 code when we adopt this?
Yes, no, with 09 we don't have any amendments to that.
Does the 09 code require residential fire sprinklers?
No, it does not.
Thank you.
That's one of the things that's in the 2012, okay, but it's not in the 09, and that's one of the things in the 2012 that will be an issue.
Any further questions? If the commission doesn't mind, I'd like to ask a question from the chair. I recently had an issue run up on a property in Davidson County, and the power had been off over 30 days. They require now an electrical inspection before the power's turned back on. Is that a local code with them, or is that in this code?
No, sir, it's not in this code. Now, as far as electrical issues go, Williamson County does not provide the electrical inspection service. That comes out of the state fire marshal's office, and those inspectors are on contract to Middle Tennessee Electric. I don't know specifically what their rule is. I do know they have a policy on that happening. I have heard of it, but I don't know if it's a 6-month or year or exactly what their policy is on that. But we do not have anything to do with the electrical part.
Okay. Well, this is 30 days, and people buying the property, it ended up costing them a whole lot of money.
Right.
So, all right, thank you, Dean. Any further questions? I see none. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 11-14-3, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 11-1411, a resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into an interlocal agreement with the City of Franklin concerning the provision of sanitary sewer infrastructure and services is considered for a portion of property owned by the county located on Long Lane to be used by the city for emergency services to serve the surrounding areas. Commissioner Smith?
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Osbrooks, the second. Property Committee,
4 yes, 0 no.
Budget Committee,
5-4-0 no.
explanation, Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an agreement that has been discussed between the City of Franklin and Williamson County through our mayor's office. It concerns a piece of property at the intersection of Long Lane and Paytonsville Road. The city has done studies and determined that that location is an excellent point of placement for a fire department, a fire station for the city. It would benefit the city by having that station there in terms of their coverage area. It would benefit many of our county citizens. I know in the 12th district as well as in the 2nd and possibly some other districts. This arrangement would involve the county providing a portion of the property of the Ag Expo Center to the city for the construction of the fire station. We would receive in turn in that same general vicinity from the city a parcel of property. In addition, from the city, we would receive provision of sewer services for the Ag Expo Center. They would run a sewer line from their 5 Mile Creek station for that basin down by the interstate. It would come up Long Lane, pass by the Ag Expo Center, and provide us with sorely needed sewer services, which we have not had since the construction of that facility. We estimate the cost to be absorbed by the city in terms of providing those sewer services to be roughly equal to the cost of the property that we would be giving to the city, in particular when offset by the additional property we would receive back. There will be a realignment of the Long Lane intersection at Paytonsville Road that will facilitate the county receiving some city property back. This is something that is beneficial to the county and city and county citizens in terms of fire protection, and potentially there could be an EMS station there as well, and we're working on that. So it gets us sewer, saves us money, provides better service for city and county citizens, and I would encourage your support.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Any further questions? I see none. You're ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 11-1411, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 11-1412, resolution to establish a committee to study and propose guidelines for selecting nonprofit organizations to receive appropriated funds during the annual budget approval process. Commissioner Danner?
So moved.
Brandon Ryan, the second. Steering Committee,
5-4-0 against.
Budget Committee,
4-4-0 against and 1 pass. As amended.
Okay. Did you want to make that amendment?
Yeah, I'll make the amendment.
Okay.
The amendment is to add the budget chairman to the makeup of the committee, and that was 5-4-0 against.
Okay.
And then Amendment 2 was to change Section 2 to read that the committee shall initially consist of no more than 6 members, and that was 5-4-0 against.
Let's get a motion on Amendment 1.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Can I just suggest that maybe we combine those amendments, and I have a third that would list the names of the members of the committee? Can we combine all three and do that all at one time?
No.
You'd have to have permission with the maker.
Those
Can we-
are
can we-
totally different issues.
Well, one is adding you, which then the second one is because of that, to add, make it 6 members. And then I have the list of the 6 members we could, that way the steering committee doesn't meet again.
What if the commissioners don't agree with who's on the committee?
Well, they were the first 5 that volunteered to come on, and then the mayor suggested that you
Yep.
come on. Actually, it was a suggestion from the attorney that the
we're-
steering committee not meet again, and we just ratify them.
Commissioner Danner, we'll just do them one at a time. We can knock them out right quick.
Okay.
Okay, Amendment 1 was add the budget chairman to the makeup of the committee. And I need a second.
Second.
Commissioner Green. Is that loaded, Ashley? Any discussion on the amendment? I see none. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of Amendment 1, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 1 no.
Amendment passes. All right. Judy, you want to make Amendment 2?
Move for approval.
All right, but, and that amendment's changed Section 2 to read that the committee shall initially consist of no more than 6 members. Commissioner Green was the second. Any discussion on Amendment 2? I see none. You got it loaded? If you're in favor of Amendment 2, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 1 no.
Amendment passes. You got another amendment?
I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and read the names of the committee and to vote on those, and then we would vote on the resolution with those members already in there. The purpose was to avoid having to run back through the steering committee. The members were established in the steering committee with the addition of the budget chair that was made and the amendment we just voted on in the budget committee.
All right. So you want to read those names?
Sure. So the 6 members would be myself, so Commissioner Kathy Danner, Commissioner Judy Lynch Herbert, Commissioner Jeff Ford, Commissioner Tommy Little, Commissioner Brandon Ryan, and Commissioner Dwight Jones. One more time, please. Read through them one more time? Okay.
Yeah, I got
Commissioner
Danner, Ford, Dwight Jones,
Judy Lynch Herbert,
Herbert.
Tommy Little, and Brandon Ryan.
All right. Need a second to that.
Second.
David Pear, okay. And did the steering committee vote on these?
No, that's why I'm making the motion to do this from the floor.
Can we do that, or we need to go back to the steering committee? Commissioner Jones?
Commissioner Danner, did you just say that this was discussed at the steering committee, these
Yes.
members?
Yes.
Am I on the steering committee?
I think so.
Did we specifically name names at the steering commission?
Yes, we took
He-
volunteers, and Bubba said yes, he'd like to do
Kathy?
it.
That was at the rules committee. Bubba just told me.
Oh, they were combined that day? Oh, okay.
I'd never heard these names.
Okay, I apologize. We can run it back. It was a suggestion I thought was made by the attorney, but we can certainly run it back through my committee.
Okay. So you're going to withdraw that amendment?
Sure.
All right. Okay, back to the resolution as amended. Any discussion? Commissioner Milliken?
Milligan.
I have one question for Commissioner Danner.
Bring the question to the chair, please.
For the chair, sorry. The question was, how long would each member serve on the committee? I know that the committee itself, based upon Section 8 does not exist past December 31st, 2015, but I wasn't sure how long the appointment to the committee would last based upon my reading of this resolution.
Can I speak to the resolution now, or are we still on amendments?
Yeah.
Do we have a motion on the floor
Well,
for the main resolution?
We're on the resolution as amended.
Okay. The purpose would be a temporary committee, as it reads, to just establish, to propose guidelines to the full commission to address the nonprofit resolution that we have. Actually, the second, couple things I just want to bring forward to the commission on this resolution. One is that the purpose for trying to develop a committee and that went through steering committee was that there are actually over 1,053 charitable organizations that are registered with the IRS in Williamson County. The second whereas of the resolution, there's a Tennessee law that allows us to appropriate funds for the financial aid of any nonprofit charitable organization or any nonprofit civic organization. The second whereas is a subsection that provides that each county legislative body shall devise guidelines directing for what purpose and appropriated money may be spent to promote the general welfare of the residents of the county. That shall is important. Since I've been here, we have not had any guidelines. We have to provide guidelines. We have to devise guidelines for that resolution. And so because we're growing, we have so many nonprofits, the idea is just to come up with guidelines that all 24 of us can agree on, so that when we enter the next budgeting process, we have something to measure, to explain to our constituents and to the county at large who we choose to get tax dollars and how many dollars we give them. That's the purpose of the committee. It's a temporary committee.
Commissioner Webb?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The point I brought up at Budget Committee, and I voted for this to come out of Budget because I wanted to hear the discussion tonight, but I felt like that the Budget Committee is set up to look at financial matters, and that if this board so desired, that instead of creating another committee and another level of bureaucracy to go through, that we refer this back to the Budget Committee. And as Ms. Giddens had said, in the past, we've had some kind of guidelines that we could use that. And in my business, I deal with this every year, and I have a set of guidelines that we use to agencies all over Middle Tennessee, and they're vetted. Plus, the other fact is the Budget Committee changes composition each year, and so you get a fresh look at them each year. So I wanted to bring that to the full committee. I'd like to listen. I don't know how I'm going to vote going forward, but I would like to say there's an alternative method, and my alternative is the preference that it goes to the Budget Committee and let them act to make the recommendations and agree that we have some kind of formal plan. Second note is I'm kind of confused, and this may be a separate discussion, but I'm not sure how we came through that we were going to vote on members that are already set and it wasn't in the packet. So that's a separate issue that, Mr. Chair, you might address and help educate me on that issue.
We're not voting on that.
We're not supposed to. I didn't hear the discussion going on at the front desk. So.
Yeah, we're not voting on that. Commissioner Hester?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to remind everybody that we worked very well together in the past on the nonprofits, and there's some situations that develop, but our Williamson County Rescue Squad receives a good deal of money from our nonprofits. This is fire protection for all unincorporated areas of Williamson County. I'd like to remind us that this is certainly very important to me in District 2 as the representative of our area, because we've had some situations where we've had home fires where the homes were a total loss, and very recently, as I would like to comment on that. But please remember that included in our nonprofits is the Williamson County Rescue Squad and our volunteer firefighters. Thank you.
Commissioner Alsbrooks?
Commissioner Webb and Commissioner Hester have addressed my concerns, so I'll pass.
Okay. Commissioner Green?
Yes, a question I have is when we put these qualifiers for receiving funds from us, what about those that receive funds now who do not meet those qualifications?
Yes.
First of all, on the fire and rescue, this resolution or the committee, in no way was there an intent to take anything away from, and especially the public safety. As a matter of fact, we can, as a commission, separate that, the public safety element off of this resolution and have it as a separate resolution. I think we probably ought to consider doing that so that we aren't lumping all of that together. And as far as if anybody that may not meet the guidelines, I would hope that we would have guidelines that would be generous. We're a generous county, but that at least would have some kind of device to measure who we give to and who we don't, and how much we give and how much we don't. And if there were any organization that didn't meet the guidelines, I would hope that we would slowly phase that organization out. Nothing would happen overnight, I don't think. But again, that's not my decision. That's the purpose of the committee, would be to try to hash this out and throw up some different ideas, like maybe every organization that comes to us for tax dollars would have to be registered with the IRS and have a 501(c)(3). They would have to serve Williamson County. Maybe we'd have a guideline that said, if they have 3 or 4 other organizations that all do the same thing, that we pick one, and we say, well, we have to give reasons why we don't pick the others. This resolution, though, for years has just been kind of fraught with conflicts like that, and I think because the law requires we shall devise guidelines, I think that we owe it to the people of this county and to those organizations to get back together and come up with the guidelines that we're going to use going forward.
Commissioner Herbert?
Call the question.
Motion's been made to call the question. Do I have a second? Second. Commissioner Bain, the second. All in favor of calling the question signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Question's been called. So you ready to vote? Resolution 11-14-12. If you're in favor of Resolution 11-14-12, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time.
Sherry.
Sherry. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
Okay. 15 yes, 9 no.
Resolution passes. Let's take about a 10-minute break. If everyone be seated, we'll reconvene the meeting. Resolution 11-14-13, resolution to establish a task force to study the feasibility and possible restrictions and limitations on use of proceeds if the county were to sell its interest in the Williamson Medical Center. Commissioner Kestner?
Move for approval.
Commissioner Sturgeon, the second. Explanation, Commissioner Kestner. Well, wait a minute. Steering Committee, 4-4. Oh, I'm sorry. Steering Committee.
4 for, 1 against.
Budget Committee.
3 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Kestner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know this is an inflammatory topic, and I apologize to you individually for bringing it, but I feel it's my obligation. And while you may hear some claims to the contrary, I do not know the value of the hospital, and I assure you, nor have I been approached by any individual or hospital company soliciting any opportunity to purchase. This is solely my initiative in order that we may learn what I think we're obligated to learn. Most of my constituents do not believe that government should compete with free enterprise. Free market capitalism, where consumer choice rules, is what made America great, and the county's ownership of the hospital in the past has been an impediment to economic growth in Williamson County. Williamson County residents create a very large number of high-quality health care jobs. Unfortunately, most of those are in Davidson County. Where is Spring Hills Hospital? Who will build Nolensville's hospital? Why isn't there a hospital in Brentwood? I am in no way against the hospital. Quite the contrary, I would like it to be 2 to 3 times larger than it is today and to provide more comprehensive care and more jobs than it does today. The Affordable Care Act, which was mentioned earlier, has made it much more risky to be a freestanding hospital. This is undeniable. There are strong trends pushing hospital systems to be direct managed care providers where they take on the health care risk to populations. And how can unaffiliated hospitals play in that competitive game? Among the Affordable Care Act's primary goals were to reduce the patient census of hospitals, to hold hospitals financially responsible for costs of readmissions of patients, and to force all Americans to carry health insurance in order to eliminate uninsured health care. Ironically, because indigent care is such a small part of Williamson County Hospital's revenue, we don't benefit from the ACA's insurance mandate as do typical urban hospitals. In other words, the Affordable Care Act has brought us some negative effects, but without counterbalancing positive effects. If we do not want to study that which we need to know in order to fulfill our fiduciary duties to our constituents, then we should vote no on this resolution. When asked in a campaign forum, almost all that I heard pledged to study the hospital. I would ask you to please keep in mind there will never be a time to study the hospital that will be convenient for the hospital. I think we should also realize that Vanderbilt, our benevolent partner, is competing with us in fundraising for its own expansions. I believe the real value of this study would be to create a better understanding for the commission, this commission, of the risks, the opportunities, and the outlook for the hospital within the context of the rapidly changing acute care industry. Valuation would be an informative number only, as any ultimate sale, if there were to be a sale, would be the result of a professionally conducted competitive process in accord with normal investment banking transactions of this size and of this sort. The real issues here, whether we choose to actively ignore them or not, are the increased risks that we face and, more importantly, economic growth for Williamson County. When we talk about sale of the hospital, you know, it's really the county's ownership and the county's competition with the free market is the overarching larger problem. I would like to thank Mayor Anderson for his support in developing this resolution and his support in the Budget Committee. I did promise the mayor that if this task force, if this were to be passed, that we would have very much a balanced task force. I would not look, you wouldn't want to look to stack the deck either way. I think this is real information that we are sorely in need of.
Commissioner Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate Commissioner Kestner bringing this resolution before the county commissioner. I think most, if not many, if not most of you would agree that Commissioner Kestner, during his short period of time here, has quickly become known to be one of the more respected and probably responsible and level-headed commissioners on this board. And I think this resolution is a direct reflection of that. I've worked in the medical industry for a very long time, and I've learned over that time that no hospital, no clinician ever makes any decision without first looking at a mountain of objective, third-party, factual data. And in my mind, this is exactly what this resolution is calling for. Right now, we need the facts as a commission before we can make a decision whether to sell it or not to sell Williamson Medical Center. I can tell you that if the facts come back, the facts, that we should not sell such an asset, I'll be the first to vote against it. But right now, we simply, collectively, as a board, do not know the facts. I believe this resolution will do that, and I certainly do support it. Thank you.
Commissioner Alsbrooks?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight, we're being asked to create a task force to study the feasibility and possible restrictions and limitations on the use of proceeds if the county were to sell its interest in Williamson Medical Center. If we vote to pass this resolution, then the County Commission would also be approving to hire a consultant with experience in the area of public sales and valuation as outlined in Section 5 of the resolution. I find it troubling that there is no dollar amount attached to this resolution. In essence, passing this resolution issues a blank check to this committee, the task force committee. With that being said, I performed my due diligence to determine what we as county commissioners should expect to pay for a qualified consulting firm to perform the task as outlined in Section 5 of this resolution. We would be asking a consultant to evaluate everything from the actual brick and mortar, the land owned by Williamson Medical Center, and to analyze the cash flow and debt services. It would cost Williamson County several $100,000 to make a proper evaluation of just that information. In addition, Williamson Medical Center has several joint ventures and other contracts entered into. Children's Hospital, outpatient surgery centers, several imaging centers throughout Williamson County, as well as doctor practices with contracts with the hospital. To review all of these contracts of the joint ventures and additional contracts would require a legal firm charging $350 to $500 an hour to determine what liquidated damages we might owe as set out in the contracts, and if there's no liquidated damages set forth in the contracts, then that firm would also need to consider the cost of any lawsuits we may have to defend to determine how that contract could end. So we're looking at another $300,000 to pay a legal firm just to tell this body how much in damages there would be for breaking contracts that currently exist. In an article dated September 27, 1999, the Tennessean reported that Williamson Medical Center paid $100,000 for the evaluation that was performed by Deloach & Touche in 1999. I believe we've all been provided with that evaluation dated December 28, 1999 by email from Williamson Medical Center's CFO, Paul Bolin. That's the last time that Williamson Medical Center has been evaluated. I cannot vote to spend at least $500,000 to study the feasibility and possible restrictions of selling Williamson Medical Center. In my opinion, that's not being a good steward of the tax dollars, and I won't vote in support of this resolution.
Commissioner Bethard?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to first, as my colleague Brandon Ryan did, commend Commissioner Kester for this resolution. It's very well thought out, and it's very well put together. 3 years ago, we looked at this, and I was a big advocate for getting the information. Some things have changed, though, in that 3 years, not on my end, but on the state side. It is now, where there had been some ambiguity, absolutely crystal clear what we can and cannot do with the money should we sell the hospital. At that point, it ceases to matter what the hospital is worth. If you can't spend the money, selling it would be essentially giving it away. If you can only use it for health care provided by the hospital already, then what value have you brought to the citizens of Williamson County? So I'm for getting information. I just happen to believe in this case we have the information. We have case studies from Knox County that tried to sell their hospital after this amendment that our state legislatures passed. And so we know what is inevitable. We know the outcome. So why hire consultants and spend money to find out the inevitable, find out what essentially we already know? That, coupled with the burden that it puts on the hospital, a committee that is formed is likely to stay in existence for quite some time. In my experience, have not seen committees dissolve themselves easily. However long that time is, this will be a burden on the hospital and their ability to raise funds, solicit donations, seek out the top surgeons and the top doctors, and to some degree I imagine it will be a burden on the staff and the workers of the hospital as well. I do applaud the effort of the resolution in that I do want to encourage and not discourage resolutions that seek information. Bottom line on this one, I think we already have the information, so I'm a no vote. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Danner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As for Commissioner Bethard's remarks just now, in regards to the law that exists right now that says, as we had it earlier, read to us earlier, that we could, if we were to sell the hospital, that the proceeds are restricted. I would like to read a statement that has been agreed to by State Representatives Jeremy Durham, State Representative Glenn Cassada, and State Senator Jack Johnson. I would introduce and/or support legislation that would reverse the restrictions on the proceeds of the sale of a county hospital if 2/3 of my county commissioners, after conducting a study, voted that it would be in the best interest of the county to sell the hospital. So for me, the restriction is not ironclad. The same mechanism that put those restrictions in place can just as easily reverse them. Also, I just want to note that I did email and call State Representative Charles Sargent, and I just did not hear back from him today.
Commissioner Kestner, I'll have to come back to you. You've spoken. Commissioner Little?
As been said, we've had this conversation before. After I was first elected, we had a special meeting. We had 2 attorneys' opinions, 1 attorney general opinion, and the precedent of a Tennessee city selling its hospital, having to put the funds aside, and I believe they challenged it and lost. I won't swear to that part. But since then, the legislature has strengthened the law. Our delegation has said they would introduce legislation to change it. In my opinion, we are one of 95 counties. We are considered the rich kids on the block, and I'm not sure how much sympathy we could get to get that passed. The reason this was passed was because they did not think counties or government or entities should profit from something that they put nothing into. And essentially, we have put nothing into this except for one bond issue. We as a county commission appoint a board of trustees, and they are tasked to manage this asset for the health care benefit of Williamson County. There are 12 trustees that we appoint to manage Williamson Medical Center. We have 2 present and 4 past county commissioners on this board, and one of those past commissioners is now the county mayor. The hospital board and its administration hired a consultant and developed a strategic plan. They are more aware of the changes that the Affordable Care Act is causing than we are, as they should be, as that's what we appoint them to do. They are actively recruiting new physicians, adding new services such as a children's hospital, and expanding its current operations to meet the growing needs of our community while maintaining its physical discipline. And I have no doubt that the trustees, who half have been commissioners, if they thought it was in the best interest of the county to consider selling the hospital, then that's what they would vote to recommend. The longer this is drawn out, the more damage we do to their efforts of recruiting, to their contracts, and to their fundraising. And I would urge you to vote against it.
Commissioner Lawrence?
Well, first of all, I'd like to commend Mr. Webb and the leadership of Williamson Medical Center and the excellent job that they do. A lot of us have had family members that have gone to Williamson Medical Center, and some of us have been there ourselves and received excellent treatment from the hospital. And that makes this sort of an emotional issue for a lot of us, because some of us have had surgeries there or other things, and we've had excellent results. And that's all due to the great leadership and management of the hospitals. And I don't believe anybody in here doesn't believe that there's a huge value and this is a great asset to the county that has done a great service to many, many people in our county. In fact, it's probably saved many lives in this county. So I want to thank you and commend you for that. However, I think it's important for us to separate the emotions from this issue and take an objective look at what's going on in the healthcare world. And I have reviewed a number of articles prior to this meeting in regards to what hospitals are saying across America and what the Affordable Care Act and other forces in healthcare are doing to their revenues. Vanderbilt's a great example of a hospital who's been in the news recently many times about a layoff last year. They also there was an article a few months ago that indicated that their they're going to lose $70 million more than they projected. They were already projecting that they were going to lose $100 million, and now they're going to lose $70 million more than that. And that article appeared in the Tennessean. And the number one reason they gave for that is the cuts in Medicare. The Affordable Care Act has cut hundreds of billions of dollars out of Medicare reimbursements. And that is affecting every single hospital in America. I know we don't get a lot of Medicaid business at our hospital, and I don't know what the percentage of Medicare business is, but it has to be fairly substantial because we do have a lot of Medicare eligible citizens in our county. So that has to have some impact on our county. Some of the other things they said in some of the articles is that more Americans are choosing higher deductible health plans, which means they have to pay for their services out of their pocket, and that's hurting hospital revenues. Mr. Webb has brought up the fact tonight in the question and answer session how outpatient facilities are now competing with hospitals, and they're able to provide services at a lower cost in some cases because they don't have the overhead that a hospital does. And that's having a dramatic impact on in the inflow of new patients or outflow of patients to other facilities. And so the question I think that is incumbent upon all of us as county commissioners to answer is, how is this all going to affect our hospital? How are all these forces going to impact Williamson Medical Center? I don't believe that unless we do a study, we're really going to know the answers to these questions. One other thing that I think is extremely important that a consultant brought up is the issue of the nonprofit status of the hospital. There was some guidelines issued by the IRS in 2009, and even though this is not law, Senator Chuck Grassley has set the minimum amount of charitable care that a hospital must give to achieve nonprofit status at 5%. Our charitable care at Williamson Medical Center is significantly lower than that. In 2012, our charitable care was 0.5%. In 2013, it was 0.6% of gross patient revenues. What is the possibility that the IRS could come in here and say, this is no longer a nonprofit facility? I don't know the answer to that. I don't think anybody on this board knows the answer to that, but that's going to have a tremendous impact on this hospital if they do. Because one of the things that would immediately happen is all the bonds would have to be called because those bonds are based on nonprofit status. And so that would have a tremendous impact upon the hospital. It could have a negative impact on the taxpayers of our county if that were to affect the profitability of the hospital. And so if it does, I think our constituents would have a well-founded reason to come to us and say, if you knew all of these things were happening and you knew this was a possibility, why didn't you do something? And that is not a conversation I want to have with one of my constituents. And that's why I think we should support this resolution.
Commissioner Bain?
Call the question.
I have questions been called. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor of calling the question signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
No.
Let's
Can we
see
know
your hands.
who's left?
If you're in favor of calling the question, raise your hand. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Fails. So, all right, calling the question fails. Commissioner Jones? Ricky Jones?
Yes, I'm torn over this both ways, but the thing that keeps on coming back to me, and it's not that it will happen, and I appreciate our delegation at the state level saying that they would take this and pass legislation, but I've actually asked some of the state delegation, I said, can you guarantee that an attorney general or a state Supreme Court will decide that your legislation is constitutional or not? And so we talked about possibilities a while ago, and I would hate for my constituents to say, did you do your due diligence? What are you going to get out of this? Are you going to get $40 million that was reported earlier, and that's all we get? So there's no guarantees when it gets to an independent judiciary, unless y'all know that we can have that guaranteed. If somebody's got that guarantee, I'd like to hear it.
Commissioner Green?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We're playing what if. But referring back to what question, if my state legislature wants to support a resolution to change it if they do that prior to us spending all this money, I'm going to change my mind a little bit. But I would like to see that law changed up there before we spend millions of dollars down here to find out we can't do it. Or shouldn't do it.
Commissioner Dwight Jones?
I guess my biggest concern is who's footing the bill of this tax force study? Is the county going to foot the bill, or I don't see any dollar amounts necessarily per se other than what we might be. I don't know who to direct the question to, but who would foot the bill?
County would foot the bill.
So so there's going to be a resolution saying X amount of dollars, or is this an open-ended check tonight? I guess is my question. I don't know. Maybe the mayor can answer it.
If this body should come up with a dollar amount, and you'll have to vote, this commission would have to vote to affirm the spending the money for the studies that you're referring to. I don't know anybody else that would pay for it.
Yes, sir.
Is there a dollar amount? I guess that's my question. I understand where you're going with that, but do we know a dollar amount that it's going to cost? Okay, good.
Commissioner Milliken?
Thank you. I think one of my questions was just answered. I have two legal questions, and that was one of them. I assume that the Budget Committee would have to pass or authorize the spending of funds for this task force. Is that correct? That's my first question. And before it came to us.
The full commission would have to appropriate the funds.
Okay. My second question, and I think you're somewhat prepared to answer this tonight, is I've heard reference to the law that's in place. Could you speak to the law? Because I've heard it stated, but I don't think it's been precisely stated exactly what the funds may be used for and may not be used for, as found in the law and is buttressed by the non-binding Attorney General's opinion.
The law, as it stands right now, states that the Attorney General has to consider if the funds, the proceeds of the sale would be used, whether the proceeds will be used consistent with the trust which the assets are held by the Public Benefit Hospital Corporation. That's the general authorization for the use of the proceeds. It further states, though, that no proceeds shall be returned to any county or municipal government except to the extent necessary to pay lawful obligations to such county or municipal government. That is the clear prohibition on the use of them. There was an Attorney General's opinion prior to the amendment which added that second prohibition, which talked about the use in terms of being consistent with the public trust. And the AG found that that would have to be consistent with what the district was established for, in this case, the public health of Williamson County. In addition, because of the way it is structured under the law, it can't come back to the county. It would have to be set up in a separate trust or foundation for the use of those proceeds other than what is directly owed to the county. In this case, the remaining outstanding indebtedness on the general obligation bonds that were funded for the expansion is the only lawful obligation, I know, of the hospital to the county government. The AG opinion is not binding on the county. It is highly persuasive. It is binding on state agencies. But until a court rules on it, an AG opinion is simply that, is an opinion, but it is, according to the Supreme Court, highly persuasive for governmental entities that are not state entities.
Follow up?
No, thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Sturgeon?
Yeah, I'd just like to make sure I understand. Approving this resolution doesn't spend any money at all. It just sets up a committee that finds out how much it would cost to study it. Nobody's spending any money unless we approve of another resolution. That's my understanding. So I feel comfortable with that. I wouldn't want to be approving this and writing a blank check for millions of dollars to do a study. That I don't think would be appropriate. But I'm really sure that when people voted me into office, they were expecting me to look out for their best interest. The taxpayers expect me to be fiscally responsible with their taxes. And I don't know how I can do that without some objective information. I don't know how we can make a prudent decision without more information. And correct me if I'm wrong, but if this were a business, wouldn't we be doing this on a cyclical basis? Wouldn't we be studying the feasibility of the hospital like every 5 years just to make, because things change. The climate changes, the economy changes, everything changes. So I would love it if, we did this study and it said, keep the hospital. This is the best thing you could possibly do. But I don't like making decisions in the dark. And until we do get information, I feel like we're trying to make a decision in the dark. And I don't see the upside to that. So I think approving this resolution, there's no risk there because we haven't spent a dime yet. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Commissioner Webb?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also want to thank Commissioner Kestner for bringing this to the board, put a lot of work in this, and from the Budget Committee, he knows we respectfully disagree with one another. I think the Attorney General opinion is pretty much what we're going to have to guide because we're making decisions tonight, not something nebulous in the future. We had an election here that a lot of it was about local control. And so, my comment there is local control. We sell this to some international hospital management corporation. Where are the managers? Are they in Brussels or are they in Peking? Where are they? They're probably not in Franklin, Williamson County, Tennessee. Commissioner Osbrook brought up the point that there are a lot of businesses in this town that rely on the hospital, a lot of employees. The number one thing of a for-profit hospital, as we all know, is the stockholders come first. So you're going to cut something, and it may not be in the best interest of the citizens of the county. That's in their best interest, and that's what capitalism is all about. But is that in the best interest of the citizens of Williamson County when we cut staff, the businesses that are surround the hospital and benefit from the hospital suffer? And coming from the Brentwood perspective, here's something that we talked about in budget, but we haven't brought up tonight. The county hospital provides the ambulance service for all the county except for Spring Hill. There are private companies out there that provide that service, and we may want to look at that. The City of Franklin looked at going into the business, and we may be able to get that report, but they decided not to as of today. Having a recent discussion with the city manager of Brentwood to confirm what I thought from coming as mayor of Brentwood, the city of Brentwood does not want to be in the ambulance business because we see that as a tax increase on the citizens. So we sell the hospital, somebody's got to pay for that ambulance service. Somebody's got to pay for those inmates that are kind of getting discount service at the hospital now. We have to provide inmate medical care. There are lots of things that aren't there, but I think, as Commissioner Sturgeon said, we can bring light in on this ourselves. We have a fine hospital staff, some of them sitting right here. We have a great financial team in the county. We have commissioners here that are in the business and have been in the hospital business. We can pull some of these facts together. We're not spending, as Commissioner Osbrook said, maybe $500,000. We can do that ourselves. Now, it won't be a $500,000 cost and maybe not as good and professional, but we can get an idea. The other thing that's hanging over the head now, we're working We have a jewel over there as it is, the Williamson County Medical Center. It's not running in the red. We have another jewel coming online, as Mr. Webb said, in April, the Monroe Carroll Jr. Children's Hospital of Williamson County. We're having a discussion now that's being looked at by donors and others that may not want to write that check to the Williamson County Medical Foundation. They may not want to write that check to the Monroe Carroll Jr. Hospital in Williamson County. We have a pulmonary wing that just opened. There may be a doctor that says, I don't know. There's too much discussion going on. I don't think I'm going to leave where I am and go to Williamson County until they get this settled. And it may take years. As you've heard before, we've done this year after year. So I look at this and I say, we have the means to do this in-house and do this without raising a lot of fuss. And kind of sum it up, Mr. Chair, here's the other issue. If we sell it and it's wrong, there's no going back. It's done. Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Pear?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for legal. Is this, whether we do this task force or not do it, is selling the hospital a question that could be put on a local referendum?
In general, the answer to that is no. I'm trying to think if there's an exception to it. This body holds title to the physical assets of the hospital campus. The operations of the hospital have been delegated to the Hospital District Board, which is a separate legal entity created by the state of Tennessee. This county doesn't have the operations per se. What you have as a county are the hard assets. The sale of those and the management of the county property rests with the county commission, and I'm not aware of a mechanism for a referendum on that issue. Now, I won't give that as 100% prohibition because I haven't looked at the question, but in general, the answer would be it would be this county commission's decision.
Commissioner Hawkins?
You just turned it off. Well, you just turned it off. Hold on. Try again. Did you push your button?
How's that? I'm like Commissioner Jones. I find this a difficult question. And it's gotten harder over the last 4 years because I've gotten to know the hospital, and I think they do good work over there. I think I said this the last time. I don't think that they are driving the bus off the cliff over at that hospital. Yet I think that a task force to study the hospital and our ownership of it is a healthy thing for this body. Commissioner Green raised what I thought was a good point. I'm getting to the chase, but he raised a good point about what happens when this task force says, yeah, we need to sell the hospital, but we don't have the authority to do it. And right now, that question hinges on whether the state legislature will amend this statute. So we've got a lot of uncertainty about what happens and what kind of recommendations this task force can make. Nevertheless, I am supporting this, the constitution of this task force with the caveat that I don't want to spend an extraordinary amount of money to study something that we already have a lot of access to and that we already have a lot of information. If we spend $100,000 to study, or $200,000 to study an asset that is generating $160 million in revenue every year, I would submit to you that that's probably a good expenditure. That's a good way to spend our money. I still think there are a lot of questions about what happens to this hospital if everything tanks. I do see that it would appear that the profits are going down at this hospital. I understand that it's a non-profit hospital, but even non-profit hospitals want to generate a profit. And looks like that's been consistent. I believe last year the profits were about $6 million, and that's on $160 million of operating revenue. So it appears to me that the profits at the hospital have shrunk. I do see that there are a lot of individuals from the hospital here tonight. The chairman, Russell Little, is here. Mr. Webb is here. I'd love to hear from any people on the who are here tonight on behalf of the hospital. Is there somebody that would like to say something, touch on some subject that has not been touched on here tonight?
If there's no objection, Mr. Webb, would you like to?
I'm not sure that there is a subject that hasn't been touched tonight as it relates to the hospital. But I will reiterate what I've heard multiple times from several commissioners tonight. Just bringing this resolution to this commission creates a lot of unnecessary issues for the employees at Williamson Medical Center, the instability that creates, for the business partners we have at Williamson Medical Center. For our medical staff, this creates issues. For our ability to recruit physicians, which we are in the process right now of trying to recruit several different types of physicians to Williamson Medical Center. I have heard concerns from these folks about the uncertainty being created through this resolution. I would urge you to tread carefully with the decision that you're making tonight.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Williams?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask Mr. Webb some questions. And I apologize for calling you back up, but I just want to ask you a couple of questions. In the past year, how much money has the hospital cost this commission?
I'm not aware of any money the hospital has cost the commission.
How about the year prior?
None.
How about the 5 years prior to that?
None that I'm aware of.
All right, so I try to live by adages, right? And if the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. All right, we have an excellent asset in this county, known as our hospital, and it's the second largest asset that we have. All right, we borrow against that. That's part of the reason why we're able to get such good rates that we do. Plus, if we sell it off, the whole purpose of that is to pay down the debt. And in my opinion, the hospital is not the reason for that debt. All right, it's the growth that we have and the schools that we're having to provide. Okay, so you're really looking at a one-time fix you're just treating the symptoms, you're not treating the problem that's causing the debt in the first place. All right, so I am a supporter of the hospital, and thank you for answering the questions.
Thank you.
Commissioner Chalfant?
I'd like to call a question.
Second. Question's been called. Second. All in favor of calling the question signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
I don't know.
He has spoken.
Let's see a show of hands in favor of calling the question. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. All right, question's been called. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 11, 14, 13, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
9 yes, 15 no.
Resolution fails. Resolution 11, 14, 14. Resolution amending the rules, regulations, and procedures of the Williamson County Board of Commissioners concerning the provision of the County Commission agenda and resolution packet found under Rule 1 and Rule 10.1. Commissioner Dwight Jones. Do I have a second?
Second.
Tommy Little is a second. Rules Committee,
4-0 against.
explanation, Commissioner Jones.
This is basically just changing, if you look down at section 1, just meaning we'll get our packet 6 days prior to the commission meeting.
All right. Any discussion? Commissioner Hester?
I would just like to ask a couple of questions. Does this mean that we're going to have to move the Budget Committee meeting to an earlier time because of this? Okay. And also, does this mean there will be 2 mailings?
No, I think this is what they're doing now. The rule called for 7 days, which we haven't been abiding by that rule.
So this gives Miss Elaine Anderson's office an extra day, so it changes. Excuse my ignorance, I'm sorry. The rules say now, what, how many days? 7 days or 6 days?
7 days.
It says 7 days now.
And we're changing it to 6.
We're changing it to
So we can get
6.
the Budget Committee in before they send out the packet.
Okay, then I read this as sending out 2 mailings. I don't understand this resolution. And if there are 2 U.S. postal mailings, then could we not do one by email?
Commissioner Hester,
Yes, ma'am.
if I might, the resolution is just putting into writing what we are currently doing by practice. The Budget
Yes.
Committee meets on the 7th day
Yes.
prior to the meeting, and so typically the commission agenda is sent out the following day so that the Budget Committee votes can be added to your resolutions.
Yes.
So the clerk's office is sending your packet on the 6th day now. We're just cleaning up what your rules book says, where it currently says 7, it would go to 6 to reflect what's currently taking place.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? I see none. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 11-14-14, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Greg, yours didn't take. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution 11-14-15, resolution amending the rules, regulations, and procedures of the Williamson County Board of Commissioners concerning the acceptance of the Highway Commission minutes found under Rule 3. Commissioner Little?
Move for approval.
Commissioner Ford, the second. Rules Committee?
4-0 against.
All right. Explanation, Commissioner Little?
Yes, it was before my time when this was actually put in, and there were some reasons that necessitated it. Those reasons don't exist anymore. It is the only board of the county that we require the minutes and require to approve, and I think it's just kind of a waste of time that we could do away with.
All right. Any discussion? I see none. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 11-14-15, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Resolution 11-14-16, resolution amending the rules, regulations, and procedures of the Williamson County Board of Commissioners concerning citizens' communication found under Rule 3.6. Commissioner Sturgeon?
Motion to approve?
Do I have a second? Second. Commissioner Dwight Jones, a second. Rules Committee? 4-0 against. Explanation, Commissioner Sturgeon?
Yeah, this is a on a resolution. Thank you for my co-signers, Kathy Danner, Mr. Ford, Mr. Little, Dwight Jones. I appreciate your support on this because I think it's a good gesture to make sure our community realizes that their comments are welcome. It's expanding our comment period, public comment period from 15 minutes to 30 minutes. And probably rarely we'll ever actually use it, but if we need it, I wanted to provide enough time for the public to voice their opinions to us. So that's the purpose of this resolution.
Commissioner Webb?
Mr. Chair, I've got the question is we're amending this, is 30 minutes enough? And I'm prepared to offer an amendment to change that to 60 minutes and amend from 10 to 20 they'll be allowed to speak. But I'd like to hear the comment why 30 minutes were chosen over another time period.
It doubles the time we've got.
I understand, but I mean, is it 30 better than, but it's double than 15,
Is it-
but why not? Why not? My proposal after discussion would be to 60, and so I just wanted to see was 30 because it covers our history. Most people are finished in 30 minutes, or was that arbitrary? What was the discussion?
Chairman, if I may, in the Rules Committee, basically what you just said, history, a lack of knowing exact numbers, 30 minutes, and that many people would cover everybody that's ever wanted to speak. So that's where that number come from. I don't know that anybody had a set number in their head other than, there was some talks on how many minutes per person, but the 30 minutes was just a number in the rules that normally would cover everybody and the number of people. So I don't know.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Thank you, Chair. That's all.
Commissioner Ricky Jones?
Just a question. I've heard this discussion at school board meetings and things. Citizens, are we defining those as any citizen, or are we just going to take comments from citizens from the county? That's just a question. I don't know if that's clarified in rules, or I guess it's legal. Citizens, when it's citizens.
What is it now?
I'm just asking. I don't know.
That wasn't really addressed, whether it's
Okay.
citizens or not. We were just doubling the amount of public comment period, and instead of giving each person 5 minutes, we said, let's make it 3, so more people have an opportunity, but we never discussed whether they were citizens of the county or not. And has that ever been has it been a problem in the past with non-citizens using up all the time?
I'm just asking.
They can't.
I'm sorry.
Can I ask a legal question? Are non-citizens of the county allowed to speak during public comment?
The commission has the right to set the guidelines for who can address the commission. So you can set it as Williamson Countyans, you can set it as anyone.
And we haven't defined either one, so it's open, right?
I don't believe the rules address it. We ask for their address, but I don't know that the rules address whether they have to be residents. Does it?
Mr. Chairman, I don't believe the rules address it, but we have had non-citizens come and speak specifically.
Wait just a minute.
I'm
Wait
sorry.
just a minute.
During the citizen.
During the zoning part.
Are you through, Ricky?
During the open citizen comment at the first of the meeting, we've had non-citizens. Okay, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, we have.
Okay. I just had a question.
Commissioner
Just want to
Herbert?
clarify.
I just wanted to verify that the maximum amount of time they can speak is still 3 minutes.
That's correct.
Okay.
Commissioner Little?
Yes, and I appreciate what Commissioner Webb was going at to be sure we allow enough time, but we have it within our power that if we see we have 20 or 30 people sign up, we have it within our power to suspend the rule for that meeting and add time for that occasion, if that should arise. It hasn't, but we can do it.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Kestner?
Commissioner Little just addressed the point I was going to raise.
All right. Commissioner Ryan?
The question that I had, Mr. Chairman, has been answered. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Ford, did you?
No, I was,
Okay.
I was addressing the citizen, non-citizen.
All right.
Okay.
Any further discussion? I see none. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of...
Hold on.
Wait a minute.
I thought I pushed the button again. I just wanted to point one thing out. I understand that to suspend the rules, 2 people vote no on that, that would nix it. So by changing it to 30 minutes, it precludes that, right? You don't have to if 2 people say, oh, no, we don't want to extend the period, they still get 30 minutes before, right? So it does make a difference to change it to 30 minutes. Is that
Right.
clear?
You ready
Is
to
that
vote?
clear?
If you're in favor of Resolution 11, 14, 16, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 1 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution amending the rules, regulations, and procedures of the Williamson County Board of Commissioners concerning the assignment of committees to take action on a resolution found under Rule 6. Commissioner Sturgeon,
Move to approve?
is there a second? Do what? Okay. Commissioner Danner was the second. Rules Committee? 4-4-0 again. Explanation, Commissioner Sturgeon.
Yeah, this resulted from a review of the rules, and it was simply to define pretty much what we're already doing and to point out the fact that it's about how you assign committees to a resolution. And it points out the fact that the person, if it's an individual commissioner that's making this resolution, that they have the right to recommend which committees should review their resolution, which is pretty much what we're already doing. It just wasn't defined in the rules.
All right. Any discussion? Commissioner Herbert?
I just do not think this is a good resolution. This is like picking and choosing who you want to vote for your resolution to try to get it passed. I do not think I just think it's unethical almost. I'm just so against this. It is picking and choosing.
Commissioner Beathard?
I guess I have a question. If I understand this correctly, the author of a resolution that had nothing to do with, say, education would be able to take this to the Education Committee. If it had no dollars assigned to it, they would be able to take it to the Budget Committee. Is that correct?
No, I don't think that's the purpose. The purpose of the resolution was to make sure that committees didn't get missed. That's all. And it's a recommendation by the sponsor. It's not the final say. I mean, the chairperson of the commission has the final say on which committees review each resolution. So it's not an attempt to do anything sneaky. It's just giving the person, I mean, it's pretty much what is already happening. If you write a resolution, you can write on the draft, I believe these are the committees that should be reviewing it, and then when it's put together, the chairperson of the commission has the final say. But when you read the rules before this, it wasn't real clear how that was happening, so.
Commissioner Green?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman, I'm confused. Has this occurred before? Where we've misassigned committees on resolutions?
I can think of only one. When we had this one to support yes on one, it never went through any committees before it went to the commission floor.
And I know the chairman is responsible for assigning resolutions to committees. But what you just, Mr. Chairman, what was just stated was the maker of the resolution can assign it to different committees based on what they feel needs to be heard, but you have the final say as a chairman. Am I misinterpreting what the resolution is?
No.
Thank you.
Commissioner Payer?
Mr. Chairman, just maybe a technical question. if you write into the resolution the recommendation of where it would go, what if it goes to a different committee? Would you have to redraft it? No?
The reporting of the committees below is not part of the body of the resolution.
Okay.
It is part of the minutes and it is part of the record of what happened to the resolution, but it is, you are not bound by those committees. That's still the chairperson's determination.
Commissioner Dwight Jones?
I think Bobby can explain this a little better than what it's been explained. It was explained a whole lot different, per se, in the Rules Committee. So if it's all right with you, Chairman,
Bobby?
I would...
Mr. Chairman, it seems to be a little bit of confusion. The question about whether a commissioner puts on certain committees, like if it has no appropriation, he can just put budget on there and it has to go to budget. No. Your rules already provide certain guidelines that it has to comply with, no matter what a county commissioner puts on there. If you want it to go to budget and it has no appropriation, can't go to budget. Your rules say no. This resolution, what this does is just offer the maker to recommend committees within the laws, within your bylaws. It doesn't provide them this unbounded ability to just decide what committees they're going to, that it'll go to. You still have the restrictions that are already placed on it.
Thank you, Bobby.
Commissioner Kestner? Okay. Commissioner Ryan?
So, point of clarification, Bobby, I'm sorry to make you come all the way back here. So, just so that I'm clear on this, essentially, whoever the sponsoring commissioner is would recommend to the chairman what committees they believe it should go to, and it is still up to the chairman to decide which committees it will be presented to. Am I
Correct,
right? Okay.
correct. And it's basic, that's how it is now.
So it still ultimately will
Correct.
reside in the chairman. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Halls Brooks?
Bobby, before you go too far, and maybe I'm missing something, but what I understood your explanation a moment ago was that if I create a resolution, I am bound by the rules as to what committees it goes to. So I can't say budget if there's no appropriation.
Correct.
If I'm bound by the rules and the chairman are bound by the rules, why do we need this resolution?
Because there is no way for the county, from the county commissioner who wants to bring this forward to recommend. There's nothing in the rules. It just says the chairman makes that determination. This provides the ability of the maker to say, kind of like this go to health. Like I said, though, if your bylaws say it can't, if it's not within what they can hear, then obviously it can't go to health.
Okay.
Commissioner Ricky Jones?
Call the question.
Question been called, we got a second. All in favor of calling the question, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Question's been called. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 11-14-17, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm.
Greg.
Travis? Oh, yours didn't take. All right. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
Well, yes, well, no.
Resolution fails. Resolution 11-14-18. Resolution amending the rules, regulations, and procedures of the Williamson County Board of Commissioners concerning call of the question. Commissioner Jones?
Move for approval.
Proper motion second. Rules Committee?
4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Jones.
Yes. This basically just allows us to ask I guess since you have the screen in front of you, who's left to speak after the call to question's been made, before the vote? It don't address what they're gonna talk about. It just asks who was gonna speak, or who was left to speak, I say.
Commissioner Danner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The school board has the ability, the last school board meeting that I attended, and I know Commissioner Sturgeon was there too, and we used to have this ability. And so I'm not really sure why we don't anymore, but you can see who's in the queue to speak in the school board meeting, and we used to, when we had the old system, be able to see that. Being able to see who's still in the queue could affect how you vote on the call to question. Like tonight, when there was several people still in the queue, that might change how I vote on call to question. And so having that ability back is what I think, how this resolution came about.
All right. Any further discussion? Commissioner Milliken?
Is there a way, and I apologize, Chairman, I don't know to whom I should address this question. Is there a way to get that back, that capability that Commissioner Danner just spoke about?
I couldn't tell you.
Yes, sir. The system that the school board uses is the same system that you all utilize. We do have that capability. However, as you will notice from this evening's meeting, you all have multiple amendments at a time. When the amendment is made, the clerk has to get out of that screen and type the amendment and load it into the machine for you all to vote on. That takes that screen away. The school board doesn't typically have the number of amendments or discussion items on one thing that you all have. They're usually voting on policy, and they're not amending things, they're just discussing. You all are taking action, I would think, more so than they are. We do have the capability. If we have the screen up there and someone makes a motion, then someone else pushes their button to speak, they may become number 6, but technically they're now number 1 because they are speaking to the amendment. While the clerk is loading that into the machine, that changes everything. You will no longer be able to see it. So if you want us to try that, we can certainly do that.
My question was more for the saving of time, so that the chairperson doesn't have to read names every time. If there's a situation where there's no amendment pending, and we can see the screen, then that saves us all a lot of times. If there is an amendment pending, then the chairperson, if we pass this resolution, could read the names, if that would be easier on the clerk.
If that's the wishes of the body, we'll do our best to make it work.
Commissioner Lawrence?
I was just wondering if there's any way that you could take one screen and put just that on it that we can see, and the other screens loaded, or is it all loaded on all 4 screens, or is there any way to split that?
All 4 of those screens are identical.
Okay, but is there any way to split it though, where you could have?
You're beyond me.
Okay. There's no way to split it. Okay.
Okay. Please, call the question. That's all.
Currently.
I'm just trying to get someone to call the question.
Any further discussion? I see none. If you're ready to vote, if you're in favor of Resolution 11-14-18,
No.
push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
15 yes, 9 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution authorizes the Williamson County Mayor to execute a quitclaim deed to divide a 20-acre parcel into 2 parcels. Commissioner Smith?
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Osbrooks, the second. Property Committee?
4 yes, 0 no.
Budget Committee?
5-4-0 no.
Highway Commission, 5-4-0 no. Explanation, Commissioner Smith.
Let me preface my explanation by saying we are not buying any additional property. There's no money associated with this resolution. This is currently a 20-acre parcel that is partially in use by the Highway Department, partially in use by the new EMS facility. We simply need, for legal purposes, to split that and show the ownership. It's all owned by the county, but show it as Highway Department versus EMS. And this would execute a quitclaim deed to accomplish that.
All right. Any questions? I see none. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 11-14-19, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Late file Resolution 11-14-20. Resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to execute a license agreement with Williamson Square Associates Limited Partnership. Commissioner Smith?
Move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Allsbrooks, the second. Property Committee?
4 yes, 0 no.
Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Smith.
This concerns the recycling center in front of the old Kroger on Highway 96. The Kroger is no longer there, as you know. We desire to retain that location for the recycling center. The owners of the shopping center are out of state. They've asked us to pay some amount for that. We have talked them down to $200 a month, and the county solid waste director asked us to approve that.
Any discussion? I see none. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 11-14-20, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
24 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 11-14-22, resolution appropriating a general sessions DUI court clinical assistant position to be paid with funds received from a grant agreement from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. Commissioner Ricky Jones?
Move for approval.
Commissioner Dwight Jones, the second. HR Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Law Enforcement?
6-4-0 against.
Budget Committee?
5-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Jones.
This is a grant that'll be used in DUI court. It's understood that after 3 years, this grant is for $325,000. After 3 years, if they don't receive any more money, these positions will disappear. But this is a good program, and several people are in the DUI court.
DUI court is excellent.
Will do. Any discussion? I see none.
Okay.
We good? All right, ready to vote? If you're in favor of late file resolution 11-14-22, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Resolution passes. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our agenda tonight. Oh, I'd like to remind you of the Veterans Day Parade tomorrow. I think they start at 9 o'clock. and, but the actual parade starts at 11. Also on your desk is a copy of the committees, and more importantly, when each committee meets. So take that, and if you're on one of those committees, like the property committee meets the fourth Wednesday at 5:30, so just be prepared, that's when your committee meets. So there'll be no further business. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor, rise.